Tablet 3 of the Atrahasis. With a gap of about 10 lines it starts so. Atrahasis made his voice heard and spoke to his master. Indicate to me the meaning of the dream. Let me find out its portent. Enki made his voice heard and spoke to his servant. You say, I should find out in bed. Make sure you attend the message I shall tell you. Wall, listen constantly to me. Reed Hut, make sure you attend to all my words. Dismantle the house, build a boat, reject possessions, and save living things. The boat that you build. Roof it like the Apsu, so that the sun cannot see inside it. Make upper decks and lower decks. The tackle must be very strong, the bitumen strong to give strength. I shall make rain fall on you here, a wealth of birds, a hamper of fish. He opened the sand clock and filled it. He told him the sand needed for the flood was 7 nights' worth. Atrahasis received the message. He gathered the elders at his door. Atrahasis made his voice heard and spoke to the elders. My God is out of favor with your God. Enki and Enlil have become angry with each other. They have driven me out of my house. Since I always stand in awe of Enki, he told me of this matter. I can no longer stay in. I cannot set my foot on Enlil's territory again. I must go down to the Apsu and stay with my God. This is what he told me. Then comes a gap of 4 or 5 lines to the end of the column, and then comes another gap of 9 lines at the beginning of the next one. The elders, the carpenter brought his axe, the reed worker brought his stone, a child brought bitumen, the poor fetched what was needed. And then 9 lines, very damaged. Everything there was, pure ones, fat ones. He selected and put on board the birds that fly in the sky, the cattle of Shakan, wild animals of open country he put on board. He invited his people to a feast. He put his family on board. They were eating, they were drinking, but he went in and out, could not stay still or rest on his haunches. His heart was breaking, and he was vomiting bile. The face of the weather changed. A dot bellowed from the clouds. When he, Atrahasis, heard this noise, bitumen was brought, and he sealed his door. While he was closing up his door, a dot kept bellowing from the clouds. The winds were raging, even as he went up, and cut through the rope. He released the boat. 6 lines missing at the beginning of the column. Ansu was staring at the sky with his talons. The land he broke. The flood came out. The Kashushu weapon went against the people like an army. No one could see anyone else. They could not be recognized in the catastrophe. The flood roared like a bull, like a wild ass screaming. The winds howled. The darkness was total. There was no sun, like white sheep of the flood. The noise of the flood. Anu went berserk. The gods, his sons, before him. As for Nintu, the great mistress, her lips became encrusted with rime. The great gods, the Anuna, stayed parched and famished. The goddess watched and wept. Midwife of the gods, wise Mami, let daylight, let it return, and however could I, in the assembly of gods, have ordered such destruction with them? Enlil was strong enough to give a wicked order. Like Tiruru, he ought to have cancelled that wicked order. I heard their cry levelled at me. Against myself, against my person, beyond my control, my offspring have become like white sheep. As for me, how am I to live in a house of bereavement? My noise has turned to silence. Could I go away up to the sky and live as in a cloister? What was Anu's intention as decision maker? It was his command that the gods, his sons, obeyed. He who did not deliberate, but sent the flood. He who gathered the people to catastrophe. 3 lines missing of the column. Nintu was wailing. Would a true father have given birth to the rolling sea, so that they could clog the river like dragonflies? They are washed up like a raft on a bank. They are washed up like a raft on a bank in open country. I have seen and wept over them. Shall I ever finish weeping over them? She wept, she gave vent to her feelings. Nintu wept and fueled her passions. The gods wept with her for the country. She was sated with grief. She longed for beer in vain. Where she sat weeping, there the great gods sat too, but like sheep could only fill their windpipes with bleating. Thirsty as they were, their lips discharged only the rhyme of famine. For 7 days and 7 nights the torrents, storm and flood came on. There comes a gap of about 58 lines. He put down, provided food. The gods smelt the fragrance, gathered like flies over the offering. When they had eaten the offering, Nintu got up and blamed them all. Whatever came over Anu, who makes the decisions, did Enlil dare to come for the smoke offering? Those two who did not deliberate, but sent the flood, gathered the people to catastrophe. You agreed to the destruction. Now their bright faces are dark forever. Then she went up to the big flies, which Anu had made, and declared before the gods, his grief is mine, my destiny goes with his. He must deliver me from evil and appease me. Let me go out in the morning. Let these flies be the lapis lazuli of my necklace, by which I may remember it daily, forever. The warrior Enlil spotted the boat, and was furious with the Igigi. We, the great Anuna, all of us, agreed together on an oath. No form of life should have escaped. How did any man survive the catastrophe? Anu made his voice heard, and he spoke to the warrior Enlil. Who but Enki would do this? He made sure that the reed hut disclosed the order. Enki made his voice heard, and spoke to the great gods. I did it, in defiance of you. I made sure life was preserved. Then 5 lines missing. Exact your punishment from the sinner, and whoever contradicts your order. 12 lines missing. I have given vent to my feelings. Enlil made his voice heard, and spoke to far-sighted Enki. Come, summon Nintu, the womb goddess, confer with her, other in the assembly. Enki made his voice heard, and spoke to the womb goddess Nintu. You are the womb goddess who decrees destinies to the people. Let 1/3 of them be. Let 1/3 of them be. In addition, let there be 1/3 of the people among the people, the women who gives birth yet does not give birth successfully. Let there be the Pashitu demon among the people, to snatch the baby from its mother's lap. Establish Ugbaptu Entu Gishitu women. They shall be taboo, and thus control childbirth. Then 26 lines missing to the end of the column, and then 8 lines missing at the beginning of the next column. How we sent the flood, but a man survived the catastrophe. You are the counselor of the gods. On your orders I created conflict. Let the Igigi listen to this song in order to praise you, and let them record your greatness. I shall sing of the flood to all people. Listen, colophon. The end, third tablet, when gods instead of man, 390 lines, total of 1245. For the 3 tablets, hand of Epic Aya, junior scribe, month Ayar, X-day, year Ami Saduka was king, a statue of himself. That was it.